The emergency room at St. Mary's Hospital buzzed with its usual chaos of Friday night. Nurses rushed between beds, doctors shouted orders, and families waited anxiously in plastic chairs. Nobody expected what was about to unfold. At exactly 11:47 p.m., the automatic doors burst open with unusual force. What walked through those doors made every person in the waiting room freeze. Two figures entered, tall and imposing, wearing what appeared to be ceremonial armor that gleamed under the fluorescent lights. Their faces were hidden behind ornate masks that seemed to shimmer with an otherworldly quality. Between them, they carried a young girl who couldn't have been more than 16. Her long dark hair hung limply, and her pale face showed signs of serious injury. Blood stained her simple white dress, and her breathing was shallow and labored. The contrast was striking. These magnificent beings in their regal attire carrying this fragile human child. The taller figure stepped forward and spoke in a voice that seemed to echo from everywhere at once. "This child requires immediate medical attention." The words were clear, but there was something ancient about the way they were spoken, as if English wasn't their first language. Dr. Sarah Martinez, who had been working the night shift for 12 years, had seen everything: gang violence, car accidents, overdoses. Nothing surprised her anymore. But these two figures made her hands tremble as she approached. There was an authority about them that commanded respect, even fear. "Bring her this way," Dr. Martinez managed to say, leading them toward Trauma Room 3. The other staff members parted like water, creating a clear path. Some stared openly, others whispered to each other, but nobody dared to speak directly to the mysterious visitors. As they placed the girl gently on the examination table, Dr. Martinez got her first close look at the figures. Their armor wasn't metal. It was something else entirely, something that caught the light in impossible ways. The masks they wore bore intricate designs that seemed to move when you looked at them directly. "What happened to her?" Dr. Martinez asked, beginning her examination of the unconscious girl. The injuries were unlike anything she had seen. There were no obvious wounds, but the girl's vital signs were erratic, as if her body was fighting something invisible. The second figure, slightly shorter but equally imposing, stepped closer. She was protecting others. The cost was nearly her life. The voice was different, softer, but carried the same otherworldly quality. Dr. Martinez noticed something else strange. The girl's skin had a faint luminescence to it, almost like she was glowing from within. Her pulse was weak but had an unusual rhythm, and her body temperature was several degrees below normal. Yet she wasn't showing signs of hypothermia. "I need to know what caused these injuries," Dr. Martinez insisted, checking the girl's pupils with a penlight. "Was she in an accident? Poisoned? I can't treat her properly without information." The taller figure moved closer, and Dr. Martinez could feel a strange energy radiating from it. "Your medical knowledge will help, but this requires more than earthly healing. We brought her here because she has connections to your world." As if responding to those words, the girl's eyes suddenly fluttered open. They were an unusual shade of violet, and for a moment, they seemed to glow. She looked around confused, trying to focus on the faces above her. Where am I?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. "You're safe," Dr. Martinez said gently, taking the girl's hand. "You're in a hospital. Can you tell me your name?" The girl tried to sit up but winced in pain. "Emma. My name is Emma." She looked at the two armored figures and something like recognition flickered in her eyes. "Did we succeed? Are they safe?" The shorter figure nodded solemnly. "The children are safe because of your sacrifice, young guardian." Dr. Martinez looked between Emma and her mysterious escorts, realizing that whatever had happened wasn't a typical emergency. The other hospital staff had gathered outside the trauma room, pressing against the glass windows, trying to get a better look at the unusual visitors. Emma tried to speak again but began coughing violently. Dr. Martinez was alarmed to see that what she coughed up wasn't blood, but something that looked like liquid starlight, shimmering and disappearing almost immediately. "This is beyond my expertise," Dr. Martinez admitted, feeling helpless for the first time in her career. "What is she?" The taller figure removed its mask, revealing a face that was beautiful, but clearly not human. The features were too perfect, the eyes too bright, the skin having that same subtle glow as Emma's. She is like us, but she chose to live among your people. She is a bridge between worlds, and that bridge is breaking. Emma's monitors began beeping frantically as her vital signs became more erratic. Dr. Martinez knew that whatever was happening to this girl, conventional medicine wasn't going to be enough. She looked at the two beings, knowing she had to make a choice that would change everything. "Tell me what you need me to do," she said firmly. The beings exchanged a look that seemed to communicate volumes. Outside, more staff members had gathered, and Dr. Martinez could hear excited whispers and the sound of phones taking pictures. Soon, this would be all over social media. But right now, all that mattered was saving Emma's life. The shorter figure spoke again. "What happens next will challenge everything your people believe about reality. Are you prepared for that responsibility, healer?" Dr. Martinez looked down at Emma, whose violet eyes were now closed again, her breathing becoming more shallow. Whatever these beings were, whatever Emma was, she was still a child in need of help. That was all that mattered. "Yes," she said without hesitation. "I'm ready." The taller being, now revealed without its mask, stepped toward the medical equipment with surprising familiarity. Its elongated fingers moved gracefully over the monitors, and somehow the machines responded differently, showing readings that Dr. Martinez had never seen before. "Your instruments can detect her human side," the being explained, "but they cannot measure what is truly wrong with her." It placed one hand over Emma's forehead, and immediately the girl's expression relaxed slightly. She expended too much of her essence saving those children. Her life force is dangling between your world and ours. Emma's eyes opened again, this time more alert. She looked directly at Dr. Martinez with those striking violet eyes. "Doctor, you need to know something. Those men who took the children from the playground, they weren't ordinary criminals. They were working for people who know about us, about what we are." Dr. Martinez pulled up a chair beside the bed, her scientific mind racing. "What do you mean, what you are? And who took children?" The shorter being, still masked, moved to the window and gestured for the curious staff members to step back. With a simple wave of its hand, the glass became opaque from the outside, though those inside could still see out. The gathered crowd looked confused, tapping on the glass that now appeared to be a solid wall to them. "My name is Lyreley," the unmasked being said, its voice carrying musical tones, "and this is Theron. We are guardians from what your people might call another dimension. Emma here is one of our kind who chose to live as a human." Emma struggled to sit up, and Dr. Martinez helped her, noting that her skin was gradually warming to normal temperature. "I've been living with the Henderson family for 3 years, Emma explained. "They think I'm their adopted daughter. But today, something happened at the elementary school." She paused, pain flickering across her face as she remembered. "There were 5 men who came to take children during recess. They had these strange devices that could make people forget things. The teachers and other kids just stood there like statues while they grabbed 6 children. Dr. Martinez felt a chill run down her spine. "Did you call the police?" Theron finally spoke, removing his mask to reveal features similar to Lyreley's, but more angular, more warrior-like. "Your law enforcement cannot handle those who use memory erasure technology." Emma intervened because she couldn't bear to see innocent children taken. Emma continued the story, her voice growing stronger. "I tried to stay hidden to live a normal life, but when I saw those little kids crying and reaching for help that wasn't coming, something inside me just snapped. I couldn't pretend to be powerless anymore." Lyreley moved to the other side of the bed, her expression filled with both pride and concern. She created a barrier of pure light energy around the children, protecting them from the memory devices, but she also revealed herself to the kidnappers. "They started shooting at me," Emma said, touching her chest where her dress was stained. "But the bullets passed right through me. I wasn't solid anymore. I was becoming pure energy. Just like when I first came to Earth. That's when I realized I was in trouble." Dr. Martinez checked Emma's pulse again. It was becoming more regular, but there was still something unusual about it. How is that possible? How can someone become energy? Theron stepped forward, his imposing presence somehow reassuring rather than threatening. Our people exist in a state between matter and energy. We can choose which form to take, but it requires great control and balance. Emma lost that balance trying to save the children. Emma looked up at the ceiling, her eyes distant. I remember the children running away safely and the bad men fleeing in their van. But then I started to fade. I couldn't hold my human form anymore. I was disappearing. Lyrelei reached into what appeared to be a fold in her armor and withdrew. A small crystalline object that pulsed with soft blue light. We felt her distress call from our realm, but by the time we reached her, she was barely coherent. Dr. Martinez watched in fascination as the crystal's light seemed to respond to Emma's breathing, pulsing in rhythm with her heartbeat. This is incredible. You're talking about parallel dimensions, energy beings, memory erasure devices. How is any of this real? Because, Emma said softly, your world is much more complicated than most people realize. There are others like us living among humans. Some are guardians, some are observers, and unfortunately, some are hunters. The word hunters made everyone in the room tense. Dr. Martinez noticed that both Lyrelei and Theron suddenly became more alert, scanning the room as if sensing something. The men who tried to take the children, Emma continued. They work for an organization that knows about our kind. They capture children who show unusual abilities, kids who might be like us or might be human children with special gifts. Doctor. Martinez felt the weight of this revelation. You're saying there are people out there kidnapping children because they think they might have supernatural powers? Theron nodded grimly. And Emma's display of power today will have attracted their attention. They now know for certain that there are guardians in this city. Emma tried to swing her legs over the side of the bed, but Lyrelei gently stopped her. I have to go back, Emma insisted. The Henderson family will be worried, and those children, they might try again. You're not going anywhere until you're healed, Dr. Martinez said firmly, her medical instincts overriding her confusion about the supernatural situation. Whatever you are, you're in my care now. Lyrelei smiled at the doctor's determination. We hoped you would say that. Emma needs time to recover, but more importantly, she needs someone from your world to help her maintain her connection to humanity. What do you mean? Dr. Martinez asked. Emma looked directly into the doctor's eyes. When we live among humans for too long, we start to lose our connection to our true nature. But if we isolate ourselves completely, we lose our connection to humanity. I need both to survive. Suddenly, all the lights in the hospital flickered, and a low humming sound filled the air. Theron immediately moved to the window, peering out into the night. They're coming, he announced, his voice tense. The hunters have tracked us here. Dr. Martinez felt her heart rate spike. What does that mean? Emma struggled to sit up despite her weakness. It means everyone in this hospital is about to be in danger, and it's all because of me. The humming sound grew louder, and Dr. Martinez noticed that all the electronic equipment in the trauma room began displaying erratic readings. Outside the opaque window, she could hear confused voices from the hospital staff as their devices started malfunctioning. How many are coming? Lyrelei asked Theron, her calm demeanor shifting to one of focused alertness. Theron closed his eyes for a moment, as if listening to something only he could hear. At least 6 vehicles. They're surrounding the hospital. And they're not just hunters, they have someone with them who can track energy signatures. Emma forced herself to stand, though she swayed slightly. The violet glow in her eyes intensified. We have to get these people out of here. The hunters don't care about collateral damage. Dr. Martinez moved to support Emma's arm. Wait, you can barely stand. And what do you mean, get people out? This is a hospital with over 200 patients. Which is exactly why we can't let them fight here, Emma said, her voice gaining strength. Doctor, I need you to trust me. Can you trigger the fire alarm system? That would evacuate the building, but it would also create panic. Dr. Martinez hesitated. People could get hurt in the chaos. Lyrelei stepped forward, placing a gentle hand on the doctor's shoulder. More people will be hurt if we don't act now. The hunters use weapons that can erase memories permanently, turn people into empty shells. They would do that to everyone here to keep their secrets. The building suddenly shook slightly, and the lights flickered again. Through the walls, they could hear car doors slamming and heavy footsteps approaching the main entrances. "They're inside," Theron announced. "Multiple entry points, they're sealing off the exits." Emma looked at Dr. Martinez with desperate urgency. "Please, trust us. Pull the alarm." Dr. Martinez looked around the room at these extraordinary beings who had entered her ordinary world and turned everything upside down. Every instinct told her this was insane, but something deeper told her they were telling the truth. She reached for the fire alarm on the wall and pulled the handle. Immediately, the hospital filled with the piercing sound of alarms and automated announcements, directing everyone to evacuate calmly through the nearest exits. Dr. Martinez could hear the immediate response. Footsteps running in corridors, elevator doors opening and closing, voices calling out instructions. "Now what?" she asked. Emma walked to the center of the room, and suddenly her entire body began to emit that soft, ethereal glow. "Now I do what I should have done hours ago." She looked at Lyrelei and Theron. "I need you to help me create a barrier around the entire building, something that will protect everyone inside while they evacuate." "Emma, you're too weak," Lyrelei protested. "That level of energy manipulation could kill you, and doing nothing will definitely kill innocent people." Emma replied firmly. Dr. Martinez watched in amazement as both guardians moved to flank Emma. They placed their hands on her shoulders, and immediately all three began to glow with increasing intensity. The air in the room started to shimmer like heat waves. Through the walls, they could hear shouting and what sounded like electronic devices powering up. A man's voice, amplified by some kind of megaphone, echoed through the building. "Attention, harbored entities. You have 60 seconds to surrender yourselves before we begin memory extraction procedures on all human subjects." Emma's glow intensified. "They're bluffing. They won't risk exposure by erasing hundreds of people at once." But Dr. Martinez could hear the uncertainty in her voice. "What if you're wrong?" Dr. Martinez asked. Emma met her eyes. "Then we stop them here no matter the cost." The doctor watched as streams of light began flowing from the three beings, passing through the walls and spreading throughout the building. On her stethoscope, she could hear strange harmonic vibrations, and the medical equipment around them began displaying impossible readings, energy levels that shouldn't exist. Suddenly, the door to the trauma room burst open. Dr. Martinez turned to see three figures in black tactical gear, their faces hidden behind helmets with tinted visors. They carried weapons unlike anything she had ever seen, devices that hummed with electrical energy and had crystals embedded in their barrels. "Step away from the entities," the lead figure commanded, his voice electronically distorted. "You are in violation of the containment protocols." Dr. Martinez found herself moving protectively in front of Emma, surprising herself with her boldness. "This is a hospital. These are my patients." The figure raised his weapon toward her. "Dr. Martinez, according to our files, you have been exposed to entity influence for 43 minutes. You will require level 3 memory adjustment." "Leave her alone," Emma said, her voice carrying power that made the walls vibrate. "Your quarrel is with us." The three armed figures spread out surrounding the group. Dr. Martinez could see more figures moving in the hallway outside, and she realized the entire hospital was being systematically searched. "Entity designation Whisper," the leader said, apparently speaking to Emma. "You have violated the exposure accords by revealing your nature to human civilians and engaging in combat operations in a populated area." "Whisper?" Dr. Martinez looked at Emma questioningly. Emma never took her eyes off the hunters. "It's what they call me in their files. I've been avoiding them for 3 years." Lyrelei stepped forward, her armor now blazing with light that made the hunters' visors automatically darken. "This child saved human lives. By your own laws, that should grant her protection." The leader laughed harshly. "The laws changed last month. All entities are now considered potential threats. The only protection is containment." Dr. Martinez felt a chill as she realized what that meant. You're talking about imprisonment. We prefer the term study, another hunter said. These creatures have abilities that could revolutionize human civilization. They're too valuable to run free. Emma's glow suddenly flared brighter, and Dr. Martinez felt a wave of energy pass through her. For a moment, she could see the hospital, as Emma saw it. Hundreds of people evacuating safely, protected by a dome of shimmering energy that surrounded the entire building. But she could also see something else. More hunters were arriving every minute, and they had equipment designed specifically to contain beings like Emma and her guardians. Doctor, Emma said softly, what I'm about to show you will change your life forever. Are you ready for that? Before Dr. Martinez could answer, Emma raised her hands and the entire room filled with light so brilliant that it seemed to come from everywhere at once. The hunters' weapons sparked and died, their electronic systems failing in the face of pure energy, and in that light, Dr. Martinez finally understood what Emma really was and what she was truly capable of. In that blazing light, Dr. Martinez saw Emma's true form for the first time. She wasn't just a girl who could glow. She was a being of pure light energy that had chosen to compress herself into human shape. Her essence swirled with colors that had no names, and her presence filled the room with a warmth that went beyond physical temperature. The three hunters staggered backward, their weapons completely dead, their visors cracked from the energy surge. But what shocked Dr. Martinez most was that she could understand what she was seeing. Somehow, Emma's light had awakened something in her own mind, allowing her to perceive dimensions of reality that had always been there but invisible. You're not from another planet, Dr. Martinez whispered in awe. You're from another layer of existence entirely. Emma's voice came from everywhere at once, no longer needing her physical vocal cords. We exist in the spaces between what your scientists call dimensions. Some of us chose to experience life as humans do, to understand what it means to be limited by physical form. The lead hunter fumbled for a backup device, something that looked like a metallic sphere. Containment Protocol 7, he shouted, to his team. Maximum power. But before he could activate it, Theron moved with impossible speed. His armored hand closed around the device and it simply dissolved into sparkling dust. Your technology cannot contain what it cannot understand, he said calmly. Lyra Lee had moved to the window, her form also shifting to pure energy. More vehicles are arriving. They have brought heavy equipment this time. She turned to Emma. They are learning to adapt to our abilities. Dr. Martinez could see the evacuation continuing outside, but she also noticed that some of the hospital staff were moving strangely, walking in perfect synchronization toward the exits. Something's wrong with the evacuation, she announced. Emma's light dimmed slightly as she focused her perception outward. They're using low-level memory influence on the evacuees, making them forget what they saw, but also making them move in predictable patterns. Why would they do that? Dr. Martinez asked. One of the hunters, his helmet cracked and sparking, laughed weakly. Containment protocols, Doctor. We herd the civilians into safe zones where they can be processed. No one leaves until their memories are adjusted. The implications hit Dr. Martinez like a physical blow. You're going to erase the memories of everyone in this hospital? Standard procedure, the hunter confirmed. Mass exposure events require mass memory correction. Emma's form began to solidify again, her light concentrating back into human shape. But now Dr. Martinez could see that this was a conscious choice, not Emma's natural state. That's why I tried so hard to stay hidden, Emma said sadly. Every time we reveal ourselves, innocent people pay the price. Not this time, Dr. Martinez said firmly, surprising herself with her determination. I won't let them hurt these people. Lyrelai looked at her with something like respect. You are beginning to understand why Emma chose to live among your kind. There is something in humanity that even we admire. The capacity for selfless courage, Theron added, even in the face of impossible odds. The lead hunter reached for another device, but Dr. Martinez stepped forward. Wait, she said. You said your organization studies beings like them. What have you learned? The hunter paused, confused by the question. Doctor, you've been exposed to entity influence. You can't think clearly. My thinking has never been clearer, Dr. Martinez replied. You hunt these beings because you fear what they can do. But have you ever asked what they want to do? Emma moved to stand beside the doctor. We don't want to conquer or control. We came here to learn to experience what it means to live with limitations, to love and lose and grow. Some of us, Theron added, came to protect, to guard against threats that your world cannot see. What threats? Dr. Martinez asked. Liralay's expression grew serious. There are others from our realm who do not share our respect for human life, entities that see your world as nothing more than a source of energy to be harvested. The hunter with the cracked helmet stepped forward. That's exactly why you need to be contained. You admit there are hostile entities. How do we know you're not working with them? Emma's light flared briefly. Because we're the ones fighting them. The children I saved today, they were being taken because 3 of them had already begun to manifest abilities. The hostile entities need humans with developing powers to anchor themselves in your reality. Dr. Martinez felt the pieces clicking together. So you're not the threat, you're the defense. Some of us are, Emma confirmed. But your organization doesn't distinguish between guardians and hunters. To them, we're all just specimens to be studied. The building shook again, more violently. This time, through the window, Dr. Martinez could see massive vehicles pulling up to the hospital, equipped with devices that looked more like weapons of war than scientific instruments. They're bringing in the heavy containment gear. The lead, Hunter said with satisfaction. Your light shows won't work against quantum imprisonment fields. What's a quantum imprisonment field? Dr. Martinez asked. Theron's expression darkened. A technology they developed by studying captured guardians. It traps beings like us between dimensions, unable to exist fully in any reality. Emma grabbed Dr. Martinez's arm. Doctor, I need you to do something for me. The Henderson family, the people who adopted me, they'll be looking for me. If something happens to me tonight, I need you to tell them that I love them, that being their daughter was the most human thing I ever experienced. Nothing is going to happen to you, Dr. Martinez said fiercely. I won't let it. Emma smiled sadly. You don't understand the forces we're dealing with, but there might be another way. She looked at Liralai and Theron. If we can reach the other guardians in the city, we might be able to create a permanent sanctuary zone. That would require revealing the location of every guardian within 100 miles. Liralai protested. The risk is enormous. So is doing nothing, Emma replied. How many more children will they take? How many more of our people will be captured and experimented on? Dr. Martinez watched this exchange and realized that these beings were facing an impossible choice: reveal themselves and risk capture, or stay hidden and watch innocents suffer. But then she had an idea that surprised even her. What if there was a third option? She said slowly. What if instead of hiding or fighting, you went public? The room fell silent except for the distant rumble of heavy machinery being positioned outside. All 3 guardians stared at Dr. Martinez as if she had suggested something completely impossible. Go public? Liralai repeated slowly. You mean, reveal our existence to all of humanity? Think about it, Dr. Martinez said, her mind racing as the idea developed. This organization can operate in secret because most people don't know you exist. But what if everyone knew? What if the whole world was watching? The lead hunter laughed harshly through his damaged helmet. Doctor, you have no idea what you're suggesting. Mass revelation would cause global panic, economic collapse, social chaos. Would it? Dr. Martinez challenged. Or would it cause something else entirely? She turned to Emma. You said some of your people have been living among us for years. How many? Emma glanced at her guardians before answering. Hundreds, maybe thousands worldwide. Teachers, doctors, firefighters, social workers. We're drawn to helping professions. And In all that time, have any of you actually hurt a human being? Never intentionally, Theron said firmly. It goes against our fundamental nature. Dr. Martinez nodded. So, we have thousands of benevolent beings who have been secretly protecting and helping humanity for years. Meanwhile, this shadow organization has been hunting them down and erasing people's memories to keep it secret. She looked directly at the hunters. Who sounds like the villain in that story? The building shook again, and this time they could hear mechanical sounds, large equipment, being assembled. Emma moved to the window and looked out with concern. They're setting up quantum field generators, she announced. Once those are active, none of us will be able to use our abilities. How long do we have? Dr. Martinez asked. Maybe 10 minutes, Lyreley estimated. Dr. Martinez pulled out her phone. Then we need to work fast. She started typing rapidly. What are you doing? Emma asked. Social media, Dr. Martinez replied without looking up. I'm a doctor at a respected hospital. I have credibility, and I have a story that's about to go viral. The lead hunter lunged for her phone, but Theron intercepted him effortlessly. Let her finish, he said calmly. Dr. Martinez continued typing. I'm posting everything. The children who were saved, the mysterious guardians who brought Emma here, the organization that's trying to erase people's memories. She looked up from her phone. But I need proof, something undeniable. Emma nodded and began to glow again, but this time she controlled it carefully. Her light was warm and peaceful, nothing threatening about it. Record this, she said. Dr. Martinez held up her phone and began recording a video. My name is Dr. Sarah Martinez. I've been practicing emergency medicine for 12 years. What you're about to see is real. She turned the camera toward Emma. In the video, Emma slowly transformed from a normal-looking teenage girl into a being of pure light. But instead of the overwhelming brilliance from before, this was gentle, beautiful, like watching a star being born in slow motion. My name is Emma, the light being said to the camera. I am what some people call a guardian. For 3 years, I've lived as a human daughter, sister, and friend. Today I saved 6 children from being kidnapped. This is what happened next. As Emma spoke, Lyreley and Theron also revealed their true forms, their armor transforming into flowing patterns of light that were both alien and somehow familiar. We are not here to conquer or control. Lyreley's voice joined the recording. We are here to protect and to learn. But there are those who would imprison us simply for existing. The video continued as Dr. Martinez documented everything. The hunters with their memory-erasing weapons, the massive equipment being assembled outside, the evacuation of confused hospital staff and patients. This is happening right now at St. Mary's Hospital, Dr. Martinez narrated. An organization that operates in secret is trying to capture beings whose only crime is helping people. She finished the recording and immediately began uploading it to every social media platform she could think of, tagging news outlets and sending copies to colleagues at other hospitals. You have no idea what you've done, the lead hunter said, his voice filled with panic now instead of authority. This will change everything. Good, Dr. Martinez replied firmly. Maybe it's time everything changed. Emma's form began to solidify, again, but she kept a soft glow around herself. Doctor, are you sure about this? Once this information is out there, your life will never be the same. Neither will yours, Dr. Martinez pointed out. But at least now you won't be facing it alone. Her phone began buzzing immediately. Comments, shares, reposts. The video was spreading faster than she had expected. Within minutes, her phone was overwhelmed with notifications. It's working, she announced. People are sharing this everywhere. News outlets are picking it up. Through the window, they could see the heavy equipment outside suddenly powering down. Radio chatter from the hunters became frantic as they received new orders. Command is calling for immediate withdrawal, one of the hunters reported. The exposure has gone global. Containment is no longer possible. The lead hunter ripped off, his damaged helmet revealing an ordinary middle-aged man with desperate eyes. Do you people understand what you've done? We've spent decades keeping this secret to protect humanity." "Protect them from what?" Emma asked gently. "From knowing that there are beings in the universe who want to help them? From panic, from chaos, from religious wars and social collapse?" Dr. Martinez looked at her phone again. The comment section was exploding, but as she read through them, she began to smile. "You might want to read some of these responses," she said. She began reading aloud. Sarah Kim writes, "This explains so much about my daughter's imaginary friend who always knew when she was in danger." Marcus Thompson says, "The nurse who saved my father's life last year had eyes just like that." Jennifer Walsh writes, "If these beings have been helping us all along, why are we hunting them?" More comments flowed in. Stories of mysterious helpers during disasters, unexplained recoveries, children who claim to see angels that look suspiciously like the guardians in the video. "People aren't panicking," Dr. Martinez observed. "They're remembering. They're making connections." Emma moved to stand beside her, reading over her shoulder. "Some of them already knew," she said with wonder. "Deep down, some humans always knew we were here." Lyrelay approached the window as the sounds of equipment being packed up grew louder outside. "The immediate threat is over," she announced. "But this is just the beginning." "The beginning of what?" Dr. Martinez asked. Theron smiled, an expression that transformed his stern face completely. "The beginning of a new relationship between our peoples. No more secrets, no more hiding." Emma took Dr. Martinez's hand. "Thank you," she said simply, "for seeing us as people rather than specimens." Dr. Martinez squeezed her hand in return. "Thank you for trusting me with the truth, but now comes the hard part, which is figuring out how to build a world where humans and guardians can coexist openly." Outside, they could hear vehicles pulling away, but Dr. Martinez knew this wasn't over. The secret was out, but that was just the first step in a much larger journey. Emma's phone buzzed. Somehow she had managed to keep it through everything. She looked at the screen and her face lit up with the first genuine smile Dr. Martinez had seen from her all night. "It's the Hendersons," Emma said. "My family. They're asking if I'm okay and when I'm coming home." "What will you tell them?" Dr. Martinez asked. Emma looked around the room at the three beings who had become her allies and the doctor who had risked everything to help them. "I'll tell them the truth, all of it, and I'll ask them if they're ready to have a guardian as a daughter." The lead hunter, now just a tired-looking man without his intimidating gear, spoke up quietly. "For what it's worth, my organization will probably disband within days. This exposure makes our mission impossible." "Good," Emma said without anger. "Maybe now you can find something better to do with your lives." As the first rays of dawn began filtering through the window, Dr. Martinez realized that this night had changed not just her world but everyone's world. Tomorrow, humanity would wake up knowing they were not alone in the universe, and that some of their neighbors were far more than they seemed. It was terrifying and wonderful at the same time. 3 months had passed since that extraordinary night at St. Mary's Hospital. The world had indeed changed, but not in the catastrophic way the hunters had predicted. Instead of panic and chaos, humanity had responded with something far more complex and ultimately more hopeful. Dr. Martinez walked through the newly established Guardian Relations Center, housed in what used to be an abandoned office building downtown. The space had been transformed into a meeting place where humans and guardians could interact openly, seek help, and build understanding. She found Emma in the children's area, her natural glow dimmed to a comfortable level as she helped a young boy with homework. The child, no more than 8 years old, seemed completely at ease with Emma's otherworldly nature, occasionally asking her to brighten her light so he could see his worksheet better. "How's he doing?" Dr. Martinez asked, approaching their table. Emma looked up with a smile that had grown more confident over the past months. "Tommy's reading level has improved dramatically since we started working together. Turns out some human children learn better when they can see beyond the normal light spectrum." Tommy looked up at Dr. Martinez with bright, curious eyes. "Did you know that Emma can make her light show me the answers that are hiding in the words? It's like the letters want to tell me their secrets. Is that so?" Dr. Martinez sat down beside them, still amazed by how naturally children had adapted to the presence of guardians. Emma's expression grew more serious. We've discovered that about 1 in every 1,000 human children has some level of light sensitivity. They can perceive energy patterns that most adults can't see. The organization that was hunting us knew this. That's why they were targeting certain children. And now? Now those children are getting the help they need instead of being kidnapped, Emma replied. Turns out that when you don't try to suppress these abilities, they develop into something beautiful. Dr. Martinez nodded, thinking about how much they had all learned. The viral video had indeed changed everything, but the changes had unfolded gradually. First came the disbelief, then the investigations, then the grudging acceptance as more guardians came forward. The secret organization had dissolved within a week, its members either disappearing or, surprisingly, many of them asking to help with the new integration efforts. Dr. Martinez. Tommy looked up at her. Are you one of the special doctors who helps the light people? I try to be, she replied. Though I'm learning that they help us just as much as we help them. Emma stood up, her movement graceful and somehow more settled than it had been 3 months ago. Tommy, why don't you practice those reading exercises we talked about? I need to speak with Dr. Martinez for a moment. The boy nodded and returned to his work, occasionally holding his pencil up to catch the subtle patterns of light that Emma left floating in the air around him. Emma led Dr. Martinez to a quieter corner of the center. I wanted to thank you again, she began. Not just for that night, but for everything since then. For helping to create this place, for convincing the medical community to work with us, for believing in us. You don't need to thank me, Dr. Martinez replied. You've given humanity something incredible, proof that we're not alone in the universe and that the unknown doesn't have to be threatening. Emma smiled. The Hendersons officially adopted me again last month. Same paperwork, but this time, they know exactly who they're adopting. How did they take the revelation? Better than I hoped. Mrs. Henderson said she always knew I was special, just not how special. Mr. Henderson wants to write a book about raising an interdimensional teenager. Emma laughed, a sound that created tiny sparkles in the air. And their son Jake thinks having a guardian sister is the coolest thing that's ever happened to him. Dr. Martinez looked around the center, watching humans and guardians working together. Some guardians were teaching children, others were working with scientists to understand their abilities, and still others were simply learning to exist openly after years of hiding. What about the hostile entities you mentioned? Dr. Martinez asked. The ones who see humans as energy sources? Emma's expression grew more serious. That's actually what I wanted to talk to you about. Now that we're working openly with humanity, we've been able to coordinate our defenses much better. Lyrelei and Theron have been training human volunteers to recognize the signs of hostile entity influence. Volunteers? People like you, Emma explained. Humans who have been exposed to guardian energy seem to develop a sensitivity to otherworldly presences. You can sense when something doesn't belong in this dimension. Dr. Martinez realized she had noticed this change in herself. Over the past months, she had occasionally felt strange sensations around certain people, as if they were somehow less real than everyone else around them. The good news is that hostile entities rely on secrecy just like the hunters did, Emma continued. Now that humanity knows we exist, it's much harder for the hostile ones to operate undetected. And the bad news? Emma hesitated. The bad news is that our revelation has attracted attention from other realms. Some entities that had never considered your world before are now curious about a dimension where guardians and humans can work together. Dr. Martinez felt a familiar chill. More threats? Not necessarily, Emma said quickly. Some of the attention is positive. There are entire civilizations of beings who live between dimensions, and many of them are impressed by what we've accomplished. Here, Earth might become the first world where interdimensional cooperation is normal rather than secret. They were interrupted by a commotion near the center's main entrance. Dr. Martinez looked over to see a group of news reporters trying to get inside, held back by building security. Still dealing with media attention? Dr. Martinez asked. Emma nodded. Every day, but it's getting better. The initial sensationalism is wearing off, and now they're more interested in documenting the integration process than just getting dramatic footage. As they watched, Lyra Lee appeared near the entrance, her imposing presence immediately calming the situation. She spoke briefly with the reporters, and Dr. Martinez could see them nodding respectfully before leaving. She's become quite the spokesperson, Emma observed. Turns out that when you can literally radiate calm and wisdom, people tend to listen to you. And Theron. He's working with international security forces, helping them identify and deal with the few remaining hunter cells that have gone rogue. Some of them weren't part of the main organization and are still trying to capture Guardians. Dr. Martinez shook her head. It's hard to believe it's only been 3 months. It feels like we've been living in this new world forever. Emma touched her arm gently. That's because it was always the real world. We just finally stopped pretending it wasn't. Tommy called out from his table. Emma, I think I figured out what the letters are trying to tell me. Emma's face lit up. Excuse me, Dr. Martinez. Duty calls. As Dr. Martinez watched Emma return, to help the young boy, she reflected on how profoundly that one night had changed everything. The Regal Sentinels had entered the hospital with an injured girl, and everyone had indeed been shocked by what happened next. But the biggest shock of all had been discovering that the unknown wasn't something to fear. It was something to embrace. Outside, the center's windows. The city continued its daily rhythm, but now it was a rhythm that included beings of light walking openly among humans, children learning to see beyond the visible spectrum, and a species that had thought itself alone in the universe discovering it had guardians watching over it all along. Dr. Martinez smiled as she watched Emma help Tommy with his reading, both of them glowing softly in the afternoon sunlight streaming through the windows. This was what the future looked like, not the conquest or chaos that fear had imagined, but cooperation, understanding, and the simple miracle of different kinds of people helping each other grow. The Regal Sentinels had brought more than just an injured girl to the hospital that night. They had brought hope for a world where the extraordinary could finally step out of the shadows and be welcomed home.